We all know that only the most physically fit people with perfect health indicators can be accepted as astronauts. However, as it turned out, after going into space, everything changes. Many astronauts make it back to Earth from a space station and die young. So, space appears to negatively affect even the most resilient person's health. And this fact is really slowing down our plans to colonize other planets. I'll tell you in this video, can space deprive you of sight? What will a baby born beyond our planet look like? What to do in space with a corpse? And most importantly, can a human live in space? Be prepared for the fact that even the journey to a space colony or colonized planet will cause you injuries. In the first 10 seconds after takeoff, you can faint and even suffer from vision loss. This is the result of blood draining from your head. After 10 minutes, most likely you'll vomit. The absence of gravity will affect your inner ear, responsible for your sense of balance, coordination, and spatial orientation. It's like when you were a child. You spun around with all your might and then fell on the floor and puked on your mother's favorite carpet. Next, the process of fluid redistribution in your body will be disrupted, and you'll get plump. Also, your bones will become more fragile in space, and fractures are especially likely to occur in the hip area. Another danger to the body is radiation, from which the magnetic field protects us on Earth. Once in space, you'll simultaneously experience the effects of cosmic and solar radiation. In addition, cosmic rays will hit your optic nerves, so even with your eyes closed, you'll still see bright flashes. But the most important thing is not to get sick. Yes, before the flight, astronauts undergo a strict medical examination, so it's almost impossible to get infected by your fellow astronauts. But in 2019, when conducting research, NASA discovered that latent viruses, which had never manifested before, could be activated in a human body during space missions. For example, reactivation of the herpes virus, chickenpox, and mononucleosis may occur. Additionally, your mental health may deteriorate unexpectedly. In 1973, the astronauts of NASA's Skylab 4 mission, Gerald Carr, Edward Gibson, and William Pogue, suddenly found themselves mentally unprepared for their space work. In the 6th week after launch, the crew claimed that they'd never worked 16 hours a day for 84 consecutive days on Earth, so they shouldn't be expected to do this in space either. Such behavior stunned management. After all, the previous team finished all their work on time and enthusiastically asked for more. Skylab 4's request for a gentler schedule was rejected. They then completely stopped working and allegedly even went on a strike. They spent the whole day at the portholes, sullenly observing the space views outside. This negatively affected deadlines set by management. On the other hand, some terrible mental and physical problems appear only upon returning to Earth. If you decide to return home after some time, just like astronauts, you'll bring with you souvenirs, such as cardiovascular diseases, blood diseases, and problems with the urinary system, liver, teeth, spine, joints, stomach, and duodenum. This is even though astronauts have access to high-quality medical care. But the most terrible of all their diseases recorded in the statistics is premature death from cancer and heart disease. 12 U.S. astronauts have died between the age of 40 and 50. And let me remind you that they go through a strict selection process before their journeys into space. Subjects with heart problems or cancer obviously aren't allowed into space. You could also bring a completely new disease to our planet from space. So, for example, after a mission, NASA astronaut Harrison Schmitt, the last person to walk on the moon, felt unwell. While on the mission, his nose became swollen and his voice changed. On returning to Earth, doctors who examined him discovered that Schmitt was the first person in the world who was allergic to the moon. After walking around our satellite, the astronaut apparently didn't notice the moon dust falling on him when he took his spacesuit off, and it provoked an allergic reaction. Interestingly, as it turns out, space can not only harm a person, but can also totally change them. American astronaut Scott Kelly spent a year in space and returned home as a completely different person. His DNA had changed. NASA conducted some research that revealed that 7% of Scott's genes hadn't returned to their original form. How did they manage to figure this out, you might ask? That was thanks to him having a twin brother who was at home all the time his brother was in space, and also apparently grew a mustache so that they wouldn't be confused. Comparing the genes of the brothers, it turned out that they were no longer identical as they had been before. Scientists have also paid attention to metabolites, cytokines, and proteins, and noticed many unusual transformations. For example, inflammation of the carotid artery wall and an increased protein level. Genes are also affected by stress due to lack of oxygen in space and significant changes in nutrition. But sometimes it isn't as scary to bring damaged genes home as it is to suffer from genuinely space-scale persistent depression. This is what happened to an astronaut who visited the moon, Buzz Aldrin. After returning home, Aldrin's career at NASA came to an end. It was difficult for him to accept the fact that the most important event in his life was now behind him. He had no other goals comparable in importance to the flight to the moon, so Aldrin began to abuse alcohol. His marriage fell apart, and he even began to have problems with the law. One time he was even detained, drunk, for trying to break into someone's house. And in 2002, a conspiracy theorist infuriated the astronaut by asking him to swear on the Bible that he had really been to the moon and that the NASA mission hadn't been a fiction. Without even thinking, Buzz punched him in the jaw. In 2018, Aldrin passed a lie detector test to confirm that he had seen an alien craft during a mission, so that allegedly turned out to be true. Now, the former astronaut goes to various shows, and by the way, dresses really cool for his 92 years. As you can see, space can significantly change not only your genes, but also your life. Speaking of life, did you know that such Earth processes as birth and death would look quite different in a space colony? Plans to colonize the cosmos, they'll need to learn how to reproduce in space. But before that, it'll be necessary to understand how the space environment affects the functions of the nascent human body. There are several options to go about doing this. The first one is offered by Space Life Origin. In 2024, they're planning to fertilize an ovum in space, return it to Earth, and then artificially implant it into the uterine cavity of a female volunteer. The second option belongs to Spaceborne United. They're going to send a woman in the last stages of pregnancy into space. To become a participant in the program, you must have experience of 2 flawless deliveries and high natural resistance to radiation. It's presumed that the mission will only take from 24 to 36 hours, but the cost of the mission will be colossal. Just one conception in space could cost from between $250,000 to $5 million, and the birth of a baby would cost even more. But if these scientists succeed, they'll give us history's first non-Earth-born human. Scientists assume that space-born humans will look a little different than we're used to. The skull of a baby born in zero gravity will be quite large. In addition, the newborn will be multicolored. The new skin pigment will be a reaction of the baby's body to cosmic radiation. And what about death on another planet or in space? Let's start with the fact that burying a corpse in the ground as on our planet isn't an option. A dead body is a reservoir of bacteria that could spoil the new planet's soil. If you throw a corpse into outer space, space, it will likely freeze and drift there forever, or it could be attracted by some planet, star, or comet. If you throw a corpse out of a space shuttle, it will be pulled behind it. A heart attack for the crew is guaranteed. Under any of these scenarios, the best option would be conventional cremation or the opposite, freezing the corpse with liquid nitrogen and grinding it to dust. It would be as if you never existed. Write in the comments, would you like to try to live in space? Or maybe you're exactly that perfect female volunteer who wants to give birth off of our planet. And if you're Buzz Aldrin, I'd like to say that you're really cool and you're still a star for all of us. Instead of punching conspirators, contact me, and together we'll make a cool video where we'll defeat them with facts, not fists.